live session that should be available in the regular live session playlist for this term. Otherwise, the previous link or the previous recording link in which we just got started with the Vue.js project, that should be available in the discourse. I had shared the recording for that particular session.
Yeah,
It is not
that
available anywhere on the YouTube.
That Puneet shared with me. Thank you.
Okay, that you already.
Sir, could you share that link, sir, again?
Which one?
Last session recording.
Yeah, I guess Puneet has already shared it in the Meet chat itself. Okay, he has shared that discourse thread, so you should be able to get the recording from it.
So we started from REST API part or just to the front end part?
No, we just emphasized on the front end. There was no backend at all, I guess. There was just a simple route that we wrote in Flask that was returning a simple HTML file, nothing else.
Okay.
Okay, so I guess now I'll quickly start sharing my screen. I'll try to give you a small recap of what we did in the last 2 sessions, and then we'll get started with the today's agenda. So I hope my screen is now visible to everyone.
Yes, sir.
So yeah, this is the same project that we used last time. I'll just close all of these files from here. All right, so fine. So this is the application that we basically started in one of the previous sessions. So this is how the backend for this application was written. As you can see, there's just one simple route here that is returning this plain index.html file. I'm not passing any Jinja variable or anything else. If I go back to my templates folder and see my index.html file, you see that there is only one HTML file present here in my templates folder, that is index.html file alone. In this index.html file, I have quite a many CDN links added here. The first 2 are for the Bootstrap, I guess. There will be some for Vue. There is one for Vue router, and the another one here is for Vuex. So I have added all of these CDN links here. Apart from that, if you will see the definition of this index.html file, there's not much here except the navigation bar that I have defined here. There will be certain router links that should be navigating to some Vue components that we have defined in the static folder that I'll come upon probably in a minute. And apart from that, we have just used here router Vue component so that whatever navigation link or whatever router link that the user clicks on, the user should be navigated to that particular component's definition or whatever it is defined. Now, if I go back to my static folder, so as you all know that it's a convention or even it is imposed by the framework itself that you must keep all of the assets of your application that should be publicly available in the static folder. This is by default. If you want to change the configuration, that can be done too while defining your application instance, but we have not changed it. And I'm using the same notation here, static folder. Inside static, just to structure the components of my application well, I have created another subfolder here called JS. So inside JS, what I have is I have this app.js file. In app.js file, what I'm doing is I am defining the instance of my Vue class here. You can see all of the properties that I have defined here. The first property is EL. That means I'm going to bind this Vue instance with a element having ID app. Apart from that, I have changed the delimiters from the default delimiters. Those are double curly braces to this. Apart from that, we also have edit router here, store here. We have a data object. We have some methods. Well, this methods object is empty. And we have this mounted function too. So if you will see this app.js file, you will see that we are importing certain things at the top of this file. You will see that we are importing router from this router.js, and we are importing this store. So these 2 files are defined here in the at the same level. So if I go to router.js, you will see that I have created this Vue router instance here, and I have provided this array called routes. And inside routes, I have defined all sort of paths that I have in my application. Here is it. Here is the path, and here is the component that should be binding to that particular path. Since these components are defined somewhere else. So what I'm doing is I am importing these components from whatever place they have been defined in, and all of these components are basically defined in another subfolder that is present inside the JS folder named components. So if I expand this components folder, you will see all of the components of this Vue application are defined here. And I'm simply porting those components here in this router.js file so that I can associate or bind each of that component with their respective route or path. And then I'm creating the Vue router instance that I am again exporting and importing in my main main app.js file. If I go to the definition of each and every component that I have in my application, you will see it looks quite simple. I guess most of them just have template property defined, otherwise they don't have anything else. So this is acart.js. It might be having some methods, computed properties defined because this was created for the purpose of using Vuex. So we did something with it, and now I'm not going to use it in today's session. Similarly, we have this contact.js, we have this course.js, we have this home.js. So this is what we have till now. The today's agenda is going to build a small backend. So what I'll do is I'll try to connect my Flask application to a database. I'll be using the SQL Alchemy wrapper. So I'll try to create a model, and I'll create one more component here in this application. That means I'll be creating one more file inside the components folder, and that file is basically going to keep track of what all entities do I have in my database. So as soon as a new entity gets added to my database, that file should be responsible for loading that newly added entity and showing it or displaying it in front of the user. And the same component can be used to basically create a new entity, edit a new entity, or delete a new entity. Probably I'll show you for creating or deleting. The rest of the things I hope you can manage by yourself. Yeah, so that's a quick recap of what we have done so far and what we are going to do in the today's session. May I know if you guys have any questions so far?
Hey, Abhishek, can you go to the app.js?
Yeah, sure.
Can you tell me what is the 6th line for the delimiters?
Sorry, line number 6.
Line number 6.
So see, whenever we need to use any variable in Vue or on the front end, so probably I'll show you if I have used it anywhere else. I should be using it here. Yeah. So for example, if I have to show any variable on a Vue front end, so I have to use these double curly braces in order to tell the browser that this is something that has to be populated by Vue.
Right.
I hope you understand that.
Yeah.
But what happens in case of Jinja is, or since we are using Flask as the backend here, the Jinja also uses the same notation. That means whenever you have a Jinja variable, you generally keep it in a notation like double curly braces. You keep that variable name within these two. So what happens is whenever you are sending this index.html file from the backend to the front end, the Jinja at the backend itself will try to populate all such placeholders. That means all these placeholders, which are basically created using this notation, double curly braces in the beginning, double curly braces at the end. And when the file will reach the front end, there won't be any placeholder. So that means there won't be anything for the Vue to render there. So what we need is, we need these placeholders to come to the front end as it is, so that Vue can take over from there and populate these accordingly. So what I did was, I just changed the delimiters, especially for index.html file. So if I go to my index.html file, I'm not sure if I'm using anywhere here. Yeah, so I probably used it sometime before. You can see that I have used this notation here. That means this is the variable that has to be populated by Vue. This won't be populated by Jinja anymore. But if I just replace this dollar symbol with double curly braces and add one more curly brace here at the end, then this variable won't reach to the front end as it is. This will be populated by the Jinja at the backend itself, and Vue won't have access to this particular placeholder. And instead, Vue is going to give you a warning in the console saying that there is no such placeholder present or something.
Okay.
Are you able to get it?
Can you show this in action, please? Yeah.
Yeah, sure. I will show you. So what will I do is, let me see what I have in my app.js. So I have this data variable called message here. What will I do is, I'll go to my index.html file, and here, I'll just use this. I'll copy this here. And instead of this contact us, what will I do is I'll write here message. Right. So I expect this message to come from what? Come from where? I expect this message to come from here. App.js file. Since I have already added this script here at the bottom. Here, JS app.js. So I expect that this message value should get populated by Vue, and its value should be what? Its value should be hello world. The same thing probably I can do somewhere else too. For example, I can do it.
Sir, but here in last script, you didn't give a type as module here, where the JavaScript which we have.
Which one? Here?
Okay. It's starting itself, there is a module. Okay, thank you.
So yeah, you see what I have done here is I have added two placeholders here, right? And both of them are referring to this message. Now, if I try to run this application, so this is up, and yeah, so I'm able to see this application running right now. But if you will see that right after this contact us, I was expecting one more navigation link to be there, and it was supposed to be this message. Right? That means that message. What is the value of that? Hello world. So hello world should have come there on top of navigation bar here. But you see that there is nothing such thing. There is no such thing here. Similarly, I was also expecting a similar message here in the body, and I don't see anything here. If I try to inspect this page and see if something really exists at that place. So I'll first focus on this. All right. So you see that I have that navigation link present here. I have that anchor tag, right? This is the same anchor tag that I am using in the front end. So you see it is referring to contact us, and it is referring to contact us, right?
Okay.
But you see that the message is not here. You are seeing that the message is not here. This anchor tag is starting here, and this anchor tag is closing here. There is nothing. There is no text in between. Right. Why is it happening? Because Jinja is populating that. Jinja is auto-populating that. That's,
okay.
So what front end is getting is this empty thing. That means that placeholder has already been populated by Jinja, and it has been replaced with an empty string. So that's why Vue is not getting anything to update there.
Okay.
Now, if I want this to come as it is, that means these curly braces should not get populated at the backend itself, and instead they should be rendered by the Vue on the front end. So we'll either have to change the delimiters, or the other alternative that we can try out here is the raw block in Jinja. That means we'll have to wrap this anchor tag inside the raw block so that Jinja does not touch that block at all and send it as it is to the front end, so that Vue can take care of the rest. Now, if I change this to say that notation, that is this one. Now I should be able to see it working. I close this. I should get one more navigation link added here. You see this message has come here, but I don't know why the value is not coming.
So in the app.js, did we set dollar braces to that? Okay.
Yes, we have already set it here. So message here should come. So we are binding it with the app element. Okay, let me see if there is any warning in the console. No, there is no warning at all. Okay. And let's say what I do is I'll place this delimiter and I'll send it as a raw block.
We
Now
have
it
two
should work.
percentages there
Okay.
in the yeah.
All right. Now you are able to see it coming. Hello world. I don't know why it was not coming before. So if I just comment out these raw blocks, then you will see it will again vanish.
Okay. So the delimiter's key is a special indicator to view that it should be treated as.
Yeah, it should be. I don't know what type of behavior it is showing here.
Can you go to app.py once again? I think, sorry, app.js.
Yeah.
I think the spelling is wrong. It
Spelling
should
for
be
what?
delimiters. The key name probably should be delimiters, M-I-T-E-R-S.
Is that so?
Yeah, it should be. I mean, because that's the English spelling. Can you just try it?
Okay, currently I was checking for something else. So it is showing me this hello world here. And I was expecting this message. Oh, okay. Sorry, my bad. So currently what we are doing here is we are writing something in the router link. So with the help of router link, we are already in view mode. So we don't really need these, what I was doing before. That means I don't need this syntax. This syntax itself is going to be okay. So since I am inside this router link, this already puts this entire component that we are writing here in view mode. So according to that, this hello world coming here, it should be fine. Yeah, I am able to see here hello world, and that is probably coming from the app.js file. And if I, then of course the presence of this raw block does not matter because I'm already inside view mode. So that is probably what is happening here. And if I try to use that syntax, means if I take this line back and I try to do something like something is wrong.
Can you change that spelling once?
Okay. So you're you are asking to change E to I.
M-I, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, that was probably a spelling mistake.
Right.
Okay. Fine. So now it is working. So yeah, thanks. I didn't know it was a spelling mistake. I was thinking that you were that way. Okay, so this is probably the purpose here, that in order to prevent such type of placeholders to be populated with the backend itself, you either have to put them in the raw block or you will have to change the delimiter so that the front end gets those placeholders as it is for it to populate. So that Jinja doesn't populate it.
Okay. No, so the last thing that you mentioned, since it is within the router link, it is working. I didn't completely get that. Can you explain that again? Even if you give a double brackets, it was working without the delimiter.
So if I change this, so it should work. Let me see.
Yeah, without the delimiter also it worked, right? So
yeah, it did not.
No, I mean without the delimiter you showed it worked. Without that key in there.
So without the delimiter, that means if I comment it out.
Yeah. It
this one.
Yeah. So you showed it worked, right? Or yeah. So how did this work?
Okay. So this is due to router link and this is okay. This is some strange. Okay. All right. So now that we have already committed out the delimiters, by default, it would be considered as what I say. The by default delimiter will be considered as these only. That is this curly braces. This is the by default delimiter for view. if we don't even change it right now, so currently you see that I am in router link and I am already inside view mode. So that means I don't need to use that syntax. Means changing this delimiter to something else and then use it here. Are you getting it? What I'm saying is that if you are already writing something in the router link here, then you can use the by default notation of view.
Okay. Okay.
Or probably I can show you something from here. That is, if you see this message, then you see that this message is not getting populated anywhere here, right? Hello world is not coming in the body.
Yes. Oh, okay. Okay. So that appears only in the only
when
in
you are
the
working
router
inside
link.
the view mode. In the view mode, yeah. So router link is a part of that. So you see that hello world message is not here. That means that placeholder itself is not here.
Okay. Okay.
All right.
Yeah, I think please proceed. The rest of it.
Okay. So now how this application looks like currently. So we have this home, we have this card here, we have contact us, and we have this hello world. So I guess we have already replaced hello world. Yeah. So what would I do right now is I would just replace this card with something else. I'll copy this. So this navigation menu, it looks a little bit clumsy here, but I hope you all should be able to get rid of it by removing all of these comments that I have added here. So instead of this card, what I would say is, so probably what entity we can work with, say feed or say post. So since the current project is blog light, what would I do is I'll try to create a model with name blog or say post, and I would try to add more entities to that model and see how do we fetch those here. So I have added this post here, and similarly I am going to change the router link, that is path to post also. Now since I have added this post path, so I'll have to create a path in the router as well. And if I'm creating something in the router, I'll have to create a component for that. So we'll get started by creating a component for the newly added path. So what would I do is I'll go to component folder and I'll create one more file here, say post.js. I would just get something from one of the existing components and I'll paste it in my newly created file here. That is this post.js. I'll try to remove the others. I'll change this component name to say post. I'll also change it to post. And now here we'll have to write some definition for this. For the definition, we'll come back here again. But for now, I'm just focusing on putting the right structure in place. So now I'm going to export this component, that is this post. I'll have to get it in my router. Import post from. Okay, I have exported it in the name post. It should automatically do it for me. Yeah. So I have just imported that post that I'm exporting from this file in this router.js file. Now what will I do next is I'll create one more path for it. So the path for it is going to be post and the component is going to be post. Currently, I'll just replace the content here and I'll say this is the post component. That's it. I'll come back here, I'll refresh and see if everything is okay. Looks like there is something wrong. Okay, let me see in the console. So post is not defined at line number post.js, line number 9. Okay, it should be post. So now you see that we are getting this post option enabled here. If I click on this, I'm getting this. This is the post component. This card should not come here. I guess I had commented that before. Okay, I'll comment it now. So like you see now, what I have done here is I have simply removed that cart keyword. I have simply removed that cart link from this navigation menu, and I have added a new link called post. Now, whenever a user will navigate to this particular navigation link, that is this post, you can also see this URL that gets changed every time we click on any navigation link here on the menu. So for example, if I click on contact menu, contact us, then it gets changed to this particular path that I have defined in my router configuration file. Same for post, home, and for this, I guess we have not done anything, so it won't do anything here. Fine. Okay, there is one more thing. Right now, you are able to see that when I'm clicking on these navigation links, my page title remains as it is. That is still showing me this document as the title. Can anyone suggest me how can I change the page title if I'm switching between the components? Does anyone has any idea about it? How can I change the page title? Okay. So what we can do is we can add a small statement in the mounted expression or in the mounted function of every component that we have in the view app. So for example, if I talk about this home component, I don't want the document as the page title to appear when the user visits this application for the first time. Instead, what I would do here is I would create this mounted as the lifecycle hook, and I would simply say document.title. I hope all of you are aware of this expression, document.title, or at least the document object. With the help of it, we can change any property of the page that is being currently displayed to the user. What I'm changing is I'm just changing the display property. So, not the display property, the title property. And in the title property, what I would say is, say blogs home, something like this. Okay. So if I try to refresh this, you see that my page title gets changed to blogs home. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy this and will paste it in every other component that I have. I'll do it in my post. Here I would change it to suppose show post. I'm adding random text. Of course, you can add the text that makes more sense. What all links do we have here? We have contact us. Okay. So if I refresh, you see I'm currently on blogs home. If I go to post, it gets changed to blogs show post. If I go to contact us, it gets changed to blogs contact us. All right. So this is how you can even change your page title as and when you are switching between the view components. Now it's time to write the definition for our post component here. So what I would do here is I would first want to write a backend for the application so that I can create a model for whatever entities I'm going to store in the database. So I'll quickly code for the backend. Initially, I was planning to do it with the help of text file. That would have been more quicker, but I guess someone commented on Discord that it would be better if we do it with SQL Alchemy. So it would take me a few minutes to write that backend code as well. So what would I do is I'll just add some backend code for doing that. Please let me know if I'm making any typo here. So I'm just trying to specify the SQL Alchemy database URI. It is going to be SQLite. We can either provide an absolute path here, or we can even provide any relative path. So I'm going to work with relative path. Say I'll just add a path to blogs database dot SQLite3. I am not sure whether I already have the SQL Alchemy installed in my global environment. If not, I'll try to install it right now. And if I'm working with the latest version of SQL Alchemy, so I hope you all are aware that Now the relative path is going to create the database file inside a folder called instance. Right now I don't have any instance folder here. So if I don't have SQL Alchemy previously installed, then it will create an instance folder and will create this database file within that folder. Okay. I'll have to import this Flask SQL Alchemy as well. I'll do it here now. I'll use this class and initialize my application instance. After doing that, I'll write my model. So let's say the name of the model is going to be, let's name it blog. Of course, it can be anything else. I can probably name it user, but it's okay. Probably I can go with blog here. I'll inherit this db.model class. Now I am going to define what all properties this class is going to have. So say the first property is going to be the ID. So this ID is going to be of integer type, and I'll also specify it to be my primary key of the table. So since this is the integer column in this table, and it's also defined as the primary key, that means it automatically becomes an auto incremented column too. Apart from that, I am going to define, say, title. That means the title for the blog, db.column, and I'll define it as, I guess string should be okay. I can probably have one more attribute here. Maybe I can have description. I guess someone wrote something in the chat. Yes, Salim.
Sir, actually, I had a doubt here. When I was doing my own project, I have created a separate file called models.py, which contain which have all the definitions for my databases. And when I was running it, it was giving me a error saying circulation, some circular import something. So how to get rid of that? If you can do
so
it,
it is a very common error. So what happens in case of this circular import error is, let's say if you are running a driver file, for example, in your case, it might be main.py file. So you are trying to import something in main.py file from a file named, say, abc.py, and you are trying to import something to the abc.py file from this main.py file. So this is forming a circular dependency. So this problem can be solved by introducing a new file. So what you can do is you can import the stuff from the main.py file to your abc.py file. That is okay. But you don't have to import the abc.py file directly to your main.py file. I guess the screencast addressed this problem, I guess, very smoothly. So you can just refer to one of those screencasts. I don't remember which screencast it exactly is. Are you working with any other folder structure that was not used in the screencast? Do you have your own customized folder structure for the project?
Yeah, I mean, I have completed my project course in in the last term, so I don't remember much about the screencast. But I'm working with what I remember from the theory I learned. I'll watch the screencast.
Yeah, it would be better if you go with one of the folder structure that is provided in the screencast. So that already structures your application well and keeps all of your components of the application modularized, and of course separated from each other.
Okay.
So currently what I'm doing is I am not creating multiple files here. I'm trying to put everything in a single file because my application is not going to have a lot of code. But of course, when you are building a project, then it would be better if you go with modularized approach and create separate files for each of the components that your application has, just like I have done it for the front end. Okay, so okay, I have initialized this URI. I have created an instance for this SQL Alchemy class 2. I have created this model. But what I do is I'll create this database. Close this application for now. I just want this database to be up and running. Okay. Okay, that means I already have SQLcom installed in my global environment, but I guess it is already the latest version. So that is okay. Now that my database file has now been created, I'll comment out these 2 lines. I don't need these 2 lines anymore because my database file is already here. If I'll try to open this file, I won't be having any data here because I have not added anything so far. Okay, so what would I do is I would quickly, just add one more entity so that we can see when we'll write some front-end code to see if the data is being actually fetched from the database or not. So I would create one entry here. For the title, I would say, post 1. And here I would enter some text saying this post is about app dev 2 project course. Just some random text I'm providing here. Right. And after that, I'll just do write changes. Okay, fine. So now it's time to work on the template property for the newly post component in the view that we have created. So what would I do is I would just try to get a component from the, or get some template code from the Bootstrap instead of writing it by myself. So I would go with cards here that I guess I used in the Vuex session as well. I don't know which card did we use last time. I think we can go with this one. I'll just copy this and I'll paste it here. But wait, I already have a div tag here, so I would create one more div tag. Should be the closing. And I'll paste it here. I'll just try to nest this. Yeah. Okay.
So on VS Code, you can directly do Shift, Alt, and F.
Yeah, I can use the Beautify extension too.
Yeah.
That is okay. Okay, so what I'm doing right now is I'm just creating a template for a card. So I want to basically put it in a loop. So if I want to put it in a loop, what will I do is I'll use V for directive and say I'm going to write here post. But this post is not yet defined in my component. So what would I do is I'll also create this data property here. And since in a Vue component, the data property must be a function that should return the new set of values or the fresh set of values so that each component maintains its own state. So what I'm returning here is I'm returning post, which is supposed to be an empty list in the beginning. Apart from that, maybe we can have certain other data properties that we'll require later. But for now, I'll leave it as it is. Okay. Apart from that, okay. So let me add a class here, row. I'm adding this class here, rows, because I want to use the grid system of Bootstrap. I want to, say, show only 3 or 4 cards in a row that I can control if I put a class here row, so that I should be able to specify how many cards do I want in a single row. So let's say if I want 3 cards in a row, I can specify COL-4. This is going to say that this div component is going to consume 4 columns in a single row, and there are 12 columns available in a row in Bootstrap grid system. So I'm just going to make use of 4 columns for a single div, or I can even change it to 3 or whatever value suits you. Okay. Now, what we have to do is we have to write a function here, or we have to write some code so that as soon as this component gets loaded, that means as soon as the user clicks on this post component, there should be some function that runs and it should populate this post variable here, because this is what I'm iterating over. Right? I have used this v for directive, and this is iterating over this post variable. What is this post variable? This is basically a list, or you can say an array in JavaScript. So since I want this post variable, this data variable, to be populated as soon as the user clicks on this navigation link, that is post, and as soon as this component gets loaded. So I need to add that code in the mounted hook, that is for sure. I can even add it in my created hook. That is completely fine too. But since I already have this mounted hook here, I would prefer adding that code here. So what would I do here is I would make a fetch call. But what fetch call should I be making from here? Because I don't have anything in the backend. So what I need to do is I need to create an endpoint in my backend that is going to get me all the blocks or all the entities of this particular model present in the database, so that I can make use of those entities that are returned from this backend here in the fetch call that I'll be making. So I would quickly write an endpoint that is going to return me all the blocks that I had created in the database so far. So I hope it is going to be quite simple, and all of you, would have done that already sometime before. So I would just create an endpoint, say, get all post. I'm not, focusing on any conventions or any other thing here. I'm naming the endpoints, based on whatever comes to my mind at that point of time. But of course, if you are working with REST APIs, you will be having, one endpoint, and that single endpoint will be used for multiple operations like get, post, put, delete. All of the operations can be handled with the help of a single endpoint, or with a single class that you will define in Flask RESTful if you are going with that. Okay. So I would say get all post. What would I do is I'll make a query blog.query.all so that it gets me all the objects that are currently available in the database. I'm going to store them in a variable named blocks. So I'll just add a comment here saying get all the objects for the blog model. Now what will I do with this is I am going to start iterating over this, but before that I'll create a list. So what would I do is I would say data, and I'll create an empty list here, and now I'll start iterating over this blocks variable that I created at line number 19. So what would I do is I would say for blog in blocks, I would say data.append. So data is going to be my list that I'm going to return from this endpoint as the output. And inside this list, what I'm doing is I am going to append some objects. Now, objects in Python mean I'm going to append some dictionaries. So I'll create dictionary here, and what all properties I'm going to have there is, so one is going to be ID. Where will I get this ID from? I'll get this ID from blog.id. Similarly, I'm going to get the title. This title is going to be blog.title. This is how I'm going to get it from the blog object. And then we are going to have the description. Let's say blog.description. Now, the reason I have to create this object myself here is because I'm not using Flask RESTful here. And if I'm not using Flask RESTful and I simply try to return this blocks list as it is, so it won't be of any use for the front end, because front end cannot parse these Python objects, right? So we have to send the data, or the format of the data should be like which is easily parsable by the front end or by the JavaScript. So that's why I'm trying to convert these objects into dictionaries, into Python dictionaries, which can be easily parsed, by treating them as JavaScript objects or JSON objects. Right? So this is what is going to be returned. Now, once I have iterated over this blocks list, I have created this data, data list as well. What I'm going to do here is I am simply going to return this data. So it is going to return the list of all of these dictionaries to the front end. If I come back to my front end, I would make a fetch call here. The endpoint that is going to get me this data is get all blocks. I hope that is correct. Sorry, get all post. Then I'm going to use this. Then it is going to return me the response object. What I'm going to do with the response object is I'll try to convert the response into JSON. And then with the JSON data that I'll receive here is I'll just try to append it to what? I'll try to append it to this variable that we created here, that is this post variable. So what would I do is I'll say this dot post equals to data. Or if we want to see what data is being returned from the backend, I would create it like this. And firstly, I'm going to print this data to see what has come up. Say data returned from the backend. And I'll print it here on the browser console, and I'll also assign it to the post variable. So as soon as it gets assigned to the post variable, so this for loop should run here, and it should automatically, create these many cards on the user interface. I have not replaced these values here. I am just gonna see whether it is working or not. So I would start my server again. I would hit this point again. I don't see any error on the console for now. Yes, not getting it. So hopefully it should work fine. As soon as I go to post, so you see that I'm getting this card here. Right? However, I'm not able to see any relevant content as of now, but you are able to see one card. Now, let's say if I try to add one more entry here, say to, this is going to say post 2 this time, and this is going to say this post is about app dev 1 project course. Okay. And I'll just write these changes. Now, since these changes are now written to the database, as soon as I reload this application, what would happen is the mounted hook will get triggered again. If it is getting triggered again, that means it is going to make a fetch API call to this newly created endpoint, that is this get all post. And now it should be able to get us all the 2 blog entities that we currently have in a database. So if I refresh this page, you should be able to see 2 cards here. We are not able to see 2 cards, so let us see console. Okay, there is a problem. The problem is error compiling template. So what is happening here is
it's a post in posts, right?
Sorry,
v4 equal to post in posts.
oh,
or
okay, all right. So some naming convention issue. So what would I do here is I would change it to post data. Change it to post data. Would also change it to post data. So initially it was coming even, because of this thing, because we already have this diff model. So it was showing this exactly on the front end. So it should be fine now. I'll go there, I'll refresh.
So there is a template. So template for the post data. Where are we replacing the post data? It's all literals.
No, I did not get it.
How are you replacing the posts data in the card? Where is
currently I'm not doing anything.
1 second.
Sir, isn't it post in post data? For
we need to
V4?
iterate over the posts data, right?
All right, yeah, that is correct. So okay, sorry, I was not able to get it before. Yeah, now it should work fine. So we are iterating over it, and I already changed it to post data. This has already changed here. This is also changed here. So data returned from the backend is showing to be this. I don't know what it has returned. So it should have returned this log.query.all data.id and all. Okay, let me rerun the server again. We don't know why it is making a call to this static data.json. We were get all post, then we are getting the response, data return, and fine. Something else is happening.
Sir, have you wrote changes to the database?
Yeah, those changes have already been written to the database. That is already done. Let me see if this store is causing the problem. Let me just comment out this store. Yes, it is making call to the data.json file that we have somewhere in the static folder. Still returning this JS26. If I go to my app.py file, what it does is get
shouldn't we JSONify it before sending to the partner?
No need to, because we are already sending it as a list of objects, so that should be fine.
So as Puneet sir said, do we need to include those variables in the front end, like post.title, post.caption, like that?
That is okay, but we should be able to get the result here on the console.log statement too. That we can do, of course.
Abhishek, can you print it in the backend? Can you?
Yeah, that I can do.
Print blocks. Print blogs, right? Not data. Okay, yeah, you can do that.
Doesn't show anything. Let me close this. Yeah.
Yeah, you're getting one.
So yes, it is returning the correct thing. No.
But only one you are getting.
Okay. Hasn't the right operation been done yet? We'll delete this row. Do it again. Okay, now it has come. We're able to see two entities here, and we can even see these two cards. So these two cards are coming here now. Currently, you're able to see the spacing between these two cards is not so good. So in order to change the spacing, the very first thing I want to do here is I want this navigation menu to take the complete width. I don't want to leave this margin from this left and from this right. So I will have to go to my index.html file for that. I am okay, so I'm using this container class here. I would use container fluid. It should be stretched now. Yes, it is. Now I also want to create some space between these two cards, horizontally as well as vertically. So what I can do is I can go there and I can add more classes to this div element. So in order to add some margin from on y-axis, I'll use my class. Let's say a margin of 3. Similarly, a margin of 3 on the x-axis too. So yeah, now we are able to see some margin from the top as well as bottom and left and right. So that seems to be quite okay. Now what would I do is I'll change these links, basically the data on these links. So here I am going to show post dot is going to be, I guess, title. Apart from that, I don't need this subtitle, or probably I can just use it in order to show the ID. So I would say post.id. However, I don't need this. I'm just keeping it so that I don't need to delete these components from here. Post ID, I'll add an indication too. And this paragraph text, I'll replace it with whatever I have as a description. So I'll say post dot description here. We have this card link and all. What would I do is I'll say I'll keep only say one of them. I'll use one of these to delete. I have already deleted the other one. You can of course use that for update function. I'll just keep one here, and this I'll be using for delete post. I have not, of course, replaced this hyperlink that I do, or I have not added any click handler that I'll do once we are able to get the other things working. So if I go there and refresh, so you see that post 1 is the title, this is the ID, this is about the description, and this is the button that we have in order to delete a given post. So, all right, we are able to get the data from the backend. We have even rendered it on the front end. What left? Okay, now what should happen here is we should be having a button, right? That says create post or create blog or something similar. So what would I do is I'm going to create that button here. I guess this one, yeah. So in order to do that, I would make use of Bootstrap models because it would look okay, or it would of course look good. Instead of doing it via HTML forms, we can do it using models. So I'll see which model is going to work fine. This model looks okay. Okay, but it is getting vanished when I'm clicking outside of this model. I don't want this. Yeah, so this is fine. I'll use it because whenever I'm clicking outside of this model, it is not getting vanished. So this is what, or this is the type of model that I'm looking for in order to integrate to my application. So what would I do is I would simply copy this code and I'll paste it here. Now I am going to, customize this according to my needs. So this is the button trigger model. That means this is the button that is going to trigger this particular Bootstrap model. So here I am going to rename it to add or say create post. I'm going to replace it with this text. Apart from that, we have this div, etc., etc. Okay, this is the close button here. And we are having a few more buttons. Let me see what all types of button we have. So we have this close button, we have this understood button, and we have this close button here again on the top. So close button is there on the top. At the bottom also, I want to keep one close button, and this button I'll replace with what? Say submit or something. As I'm going to accept some data from the user in this particular Bootstrap model, and user should see a submit button here, submit or upload or whatever you can think of. I'm going to keep it here. Okay, there is one more thing. Probably I'll take care of it later. So this is my Bootstrap model body. I'm going to write something of my choice. So what will I do is I create different containers here. So I have created two containers, two div elements, and inside these two div elements, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create say two fields. One is going to be for accepting the post title. The other one is going to be for accepting the post description, right? So I would say label, say enter post title. And just after that, I am going to have an input box that is going to get the input from the user. So the type of this input is going to be of text. Similarly, I am going to have some description too. So I'll add that description here. So this is going to be enter post description, and okay, this should be closed here. And yeah, this seems to be okay. Fine. Let me see how is this looking right now. I go to here. I'll click on this create post, and you see that something of this sort is now coming up on my screen. If I'm clicking outside, I'm not able to, get it vanished from the screen. So the only way to close this right now is to either use these buttons on the Bootstrap model or refresh this page. So if I refresh this page, that model will go away. I'll click on it and it will again pop up on the screen. So I don't see the spacing between these two. So what I would do is I would add some classes here. So say my3, I would add a margin of 3. Let's see. Yeah, this looks good. And I would add the same margin on this other div element that I have here. So this should be okay. All right, so this looks good now. I can add my post title here, and I can add my post description here. But the only thing that is worrying here is that if we are able to click on, we are not able to click on submit here. We can click on close. We can click on this close button here on the top as well. So that is okay. Okay. So what we have to do is now we have to add a functionality that as soon as the user clicks on the button here, that is the submit button. In that case, we should be triggering a fetch call that should add whatever values that user has added here in this Bootstrap model. Those should get populated to the backend or to the database that we have. So what I'm going to do here now is I'm going to create 2 more variables. One is going to be title. It is going to be empty initially. Sorry. And another one is going to be description. I'll just keep it short. I'll say DESC. This is going to be fine. And here in the input, I would add vModel here. vModel equals to title. And similarly here, vModel equals to DESC. And whenever the user is clicking on the submit button, I have to trigger a method that is going to trigger a fetch call in return. So what would I do here is I would add a click handler, and that is going to trigger a function that says add block. So this is the function that I have to implement in my JavaScript here inside the view component. So what would I do is I create a methods object, and inside this methods object I create this add block, which is supposed to be a function. What this function should do, all right. So now we have to see how do we write the definition for this function. So can someone tell me if we have to, post these details from the front end to the back end? Of course, we need to make a fetch call from here, but we also need to have something in the back end that is going to take care of the request that we'll be making, right? So that means we need to create another endpoint here in the back end that will take care of the request coming from the back end. So let's quickly add that endpoint too. Okay, so before that, we have to decide that what type of data are we going to send from the front end here. So we generally have 2 options. We can either send the data in the JSON format, or we can send it as form data. So what do you guys prefer here? Any suggestions?
JSON.
Okay, then we can write the backend according to the JSON. So I would say app.route.
Is there an advantage of one over the other?
Probably yes. If you use form data, then it will be easier for you to post images as well. It becomes easier for you if you are posting images.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so create See, I'm using very vague names here, but I hope you all can work on these names to make them better. So define create log. So since this is going to be a post request, I'll have to say methods parameter. I'll have to define it and say it is going to take care of the post request only. I am not going to use this endpoint for making any request of get nature. So since I'm looking for the JSON data, what would I do is I would say data equals to request. Have I imported request? Not yet. So I'll import it here. Request. And I would say request dot get JSON. So this is going to get me the data in the JSON format. After that, what I would like to do here is I would first like to print that data to see what type of data I'm getting. So I would say post title. So I would say data dot get. So we don't know what the name we are going to provide to the attributes that we will be sending from the backend. For example, I assume that we are going to send it as title only. And the next is post description. Data dot get this. That is fine. And for now, I am going to return a very simple thing, that is say post successfully added. See, I'm not taking care of any exceptions here. I'm keeping this demo as short as I can, but of course you will have to take care of all sorts of exceptions here. Like if the title should not be a duplicate value, you will have to take care of that. The description should be of a certain length. All of these validations you can of course put in when you code for it. Now I'll have to write the fetch call here, so I won't be writing it by myself. I'll get it from the internet from somewhere. I can probably get it from MDN. So okay, I'm going to get this. I put it here. Okay, so the endpoint that we are going to be hitting here is going to be create blog. Let me just confirm once again. Yes, it is create blog. The method is going to be post. Headers is going to be application JSON. We have this data here. Here. So I'll just change this to title, and the value of it is going to be. Can someone tell me what should be the value here?
Just title.
Yeah, exactly. So it will be this. This dot disk, and similarly here it is going to be this dot title. I have created this data object here and sending this request. This data is now being stringified. Then I'll get this response JSON, and the data that I'll be getting from the backend will be shown on the console. We are just seeing that how does it work. Okay. Even in the backend, I have not added any code to actually create an entity in the backend database. I'm just seeing that if it is working fine as of now or not. Okay. So I hope the backend is still running. Yes, it is. Let me refresh it once again. Click on create post. I'll write here post 3 and write some. This is some random text. I'll click on submit. I have clicked on submit, so it should have triggered a request. So you can see, yes, I'm able to see it has triggered a request, but I'm not able to get this model off. I should do something with it, but let us see if we are able to get the expected output in the console. No, there is something else. Unexpected token P. All right. So the problem is, since we are using Flask and the front end is expecting a JSON parsable string, and right now we are not providing anything of that sort. So either we have to return a Python dictionary, or we'll have to convert this string into a valid JSON string. So instead of converting it into a dictionary, I would rather try importing this JSONify function. If you are using Flask RESTful, of course you don't need to, because the default response of any function that is created with that framework is automatically in the JSON format, so you don't need to do that explicitly. But right now I'm working with raw Flask framework, so I'll need to do this. I'll put it inside my JSONify. I'll save it. And let me see if this works for me now. I'll again create post, write something random. I'll click on submit. Go to inspect, console. Now you can see we are able to see this message, success, post successfully added. Let's see what we have received on the backend. So you can see the data. No, that's not the same thing. Yeah, so here it is. Post title is giving the random text that I typed in that model, and so the description. Right? So I can see that whatever data I was expecting from the front end, I'm getting that data on the back end. So now I can write the required code. So the code is going to be quite simple. I hope you are aware. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create an object of blog class. So title and description. Let's say title equals to data.get title else none. Similarly, I'm going to have the description equals to data.get. What I'm sending is DESC only. Okay, SC, and the default value is going to be none. Okay, once this is created, I'll add this in a session. I'll then commit the changes. Fine. Once this is done, I am going to return the same response. So that is fine. We should be able to see that response too. Okay, let's see if this thing works. But yeah, there is one more thing I want to address here is, so I hope you all must have noticed it. When I'm clicking on the submit button, I want this model to go away, and I want the latest changes to be reflected here, right, in the background. So the simplest thing that I can do in order to disappear this bootstrap model, as soon as I click on the submit button, I can just add this data BS distance property here as well to the submit button. Let's see if this works. I'll start the server. I'll do something here. Okay, so since I'm now writing something in the database, I should be cautious. So I'll instead write post 3 here, and I would say this is some random text. So as soon as I click on submit, yes, it goes away. Let us see the console if it gives us any error. No, it is just saying that the post is a success. And if I go to database and refresh this, then you see that I have this new entity added here, post 3, and this is some random text, right? But the problem is the front end still shows the same, right? That means the model, the bootstrap model that we wanted to go away has now gone, but we are not getting that another card created here as soon as the user clicks on the submit button. So any ideas? What can we do? We are using router here. I guess I gave some suggestions to few people here in the last session. Any ideas? How can we make the latest changes being rendered on the screen for the user? Come on, anyone?
Can we reroute to the same page again?
Yes, we can do that. So
This
yes,
dot route dot push.
Exactly. We can do that too. So what I can do is, okay, I'll come here. So as soon as this fetch request is a success, I would say this dot router dot go, and I would not provide anything here. Or if I want to use push method as well, that is fine too. This dot router dot push.
Both are the same function, sir. Push and go.
No, both are not the same. Go accept integer value, whereas push accepts the actual path. So the path is going to be post, whereas I'm not going to pass anything to go here because I want the same screen to be refreshed. If I want the navigation to move one step up in the stack, then I provide a positive value. If I want the user to go back, then I provide a negative value. But since I want the current screen to be refreshed again, I'll leave it empty. Or if I need to specify something explicitly, I would say 0.
Got it, sir.
Right. So yeah, I'll comment it out, and I hope the server is up and running. Yes, it is. I'll go there again. I'll refresh it. So now I'm refreshing it. So you are able to see that I'm getting 3 posts now. Let me create another post 4 and some random text. If I click on submit, so see the page got automatically refreshed, and we are able to see all the 4 posts here, right? But many people don't prefer this option. Of course, either of these, that is this.router.go, this.router.push, what they prefer is, even I'm one of those who don't prefer this method if this is the only entity that has to be updated. Of course, if there are certain other things on this page that you want to be updated as soon as the user clicks on the submit button, then it's a good choice to go with. But currently, I only have this variable that should be updated, right? Which variable is it? It is post data variable. That is the only variable, right? So what would I instead do here is, I would copy this fetch call and I would make it once again when the previous fetch is a success. That means as soon as the fetch request has completed adding a new object of blog class into the database, and as soon as it has got a successful response, I am going to trigger another fetch request that is going to update what? That is going to update this post data variable. Now I'll show you. I have refreshed it. I have saved this. I'll create once again. So this is going to be post 5, and this is going to be some random text. So you'll see as soon as I click on submit, the page won't refresh, but there should be one more card that should come up here at this position. Submit, and you see it came here. Right. So since this was the only thing that was supposed to be updated on my page, so I preferred updating this variable alone. But if you think that there are many other variables that have to be updated, then of course you can go with go method or the push method. Anything is fine. Right? Okay. So is there anything else that I can do here? Okay. I think I can implement this delete post as well. So what I would do is, there is this delete button. I would add, click here. I would remove this, href value, and I would instead convert it to a button and say click equals to delete blog, and I need to pass a value to it. That is going to be what? That is going to be post.id. I'll create another function here. This is going to be delete blog. This is supposed to be a function. And what happens when this function gets triggered? We have to make a fetch call. A fetch call to say delete blog. I implement this endpoint in the backend too. Is this supposed to be a get request? Of course, when you will be working with APIs, you will be required to send a delete request. Right now, I'm simply working with get. Doesn't really matter much as of now. Then .json, and okay, this would return another promise. d equals to, what we should do here is we should update this dot what was the name of that variable? Post data. This dot post data equals to, no, sorry, this should not be done here. This should simply say console.log post deleted. That's it. Okay, I'll have to implement this on the backend as well. That is delete blog. I'll quickly do that. App.route delete blog blog. This is going to, okay, so since I'm sending it as a JSON request, so what I can do here is, this function is also accepting an ID. I can convert it into a JSON string, oh sorry, not a JSON string, JavaScript template string, and I can provide this variable named ID here. Right, so it would be easier for me to delete it from the backend. Here
I think you are editing the wrong one. You just edited the mounted function, the get outpost.
Get outpost.
Okay, so I have to do it here. Fine. If I were to apply here, then I'm getting this ID. This ID, this function also gets. And what do we do here is we simply say blog equals to blog dot query dot get. I can simply use the get function because I know ID is the primary key. So I can simply pass this primary key and get the object. Once I get this object, I will delete this. Here also, of course, you need to put certain validations that I'm skipping right now. Session.commit. And I would simply return it. Say, okay, I'll have to return something in JSONify. Delete.
So it'll be db.session.delete, right? Before commit.
I put it blog here. Okay, what I'm doing here in delete blog function is I'm making a fetch request, providing this ID, JSON, then I'm simply saying post deleted.
In line number 85, name is wrong.
The URL should be /delete post, right? Not get all post.
Yeah, correct. Delete blog, right? Yes. Delete blog. Let me just make double sure everything is fine. So someone is trying to join from their personal email ID. I guess that won't be allowed. Okay, so let me save this and see if this works. Deleting it. And yeah, let us see. So I don't think I can allow right now. Okay, so let me refresh this page. And right now you see I have this delete post button. So let me see what happens if I try to delete. If I click on delete post, nothing happens because it would have triggered a request to the backend. So you see that it has, no, I guess nothing has happened. Where was that delete? Okay, here it is, delete blog. We are writing delete blog here, and it is, we are providing post.id. supposed to be delete blog. ID is here.
The function should accept a parameter, right?
Yes, sir. So should we give a parameter for the function?
Oh, okay. I guess I edited parameter here. That is the issue. Okay. Let me open console and see if there is any error. Don't think so. I'll click on the last one. It is giving an error. ID is not defined. Okay, post. Maybe that is.
I think in get all post we have not taken the ID. Okay, we have.
Sorry?
No, it's okay.
Okay, so it is saying that ID is not defined at delete block component line number 85. Number 85. So this ID is directly coming from delete block. This ID is coming from here. Okay. Currently this is fine. As soon as I click on this button, okay, now it seems to be working fine. It says card deleted. And if I go to the backend, it has already sent a request to delete a block with ID 5. But we are not able to see the updated output on the current screen because we have not updated the post data variable. So the same thing we can do here as well. The thing that we did to the previous fetch, that means we can add this fetch call as soon as the fetch request is completed. We'll add this here. Okay. So I'll refresh this. I'll click the delete post button for the last post that we have. So you see it got deleted too, and now it is working fine. Let me see the backend. Yes, it has sent the request for delete blog having ID 4, and then it has sent the request for getting all the posts. So yes, we are able to get it working as well. Okay, so we see that how this create post work. We saw how to get the post from the database. We see how to delete the post. The only thing that is remaining is the updation, and I hope you all can take care of the updation part. You just have to make the put request in case you are working with APIs. Else, you can even go with the post request. That is fine too. Okay, I think that is pretty much. Is there anything else that you want me to address right now?
Edit post.
Sorry?
Oh, edit post.
Edit post. Okay, I just told you that I guess you can implement the edit feature by yourself. But if you want me to do it right now, I can do it too. Is that needed?
Oh, yes, so can you show us how to do edit post?
Okay. So what I would do is I would create another button here. Okay. Currently, I'm not providing any click event to it, but yeah, I'll just name it as edit post. And once I do this, I'll have to get this model as well. I'll have to change the IDs everywhere. So let's see. Okay. I think I can copy this itself. Should be till this one. This div tag is still here. Okay, fine. So add it here. I'll have to change the ID at every place. So I can first, I can simply replace this. This class here. Card link. And now I can remove this. So the class for this is going to be model fade. Okay. Okay, I don't think it is having any ID or any such thing. Let me see if that works. So if I click on this create post, and yeah, it does. So instead of saying create post, I would say update post here. Okay, update post. If I want this button to look exactly same as that of before, so I can even anyways, that is fine. Now I'm able to see it. Okay, currently, of course, is the ideal edit operation would look like where as soon as the user clicks on this, okay, I'll change this text here. As soon as the user clicks on this update button, you should get the details, the existing details in the backend, and you should populate these fields. But currently, I'm not going to, do those things. I will just be, updating whatever user enters here as the fresh content. Ideally, as I said, you should be having another fetch call that should get triggered as soon as the user clicks on this edit button, and you should update these placeholders with the actual values that the database currently has. Okay, I'm going to skip that thing for now. I have recently added this here, so I have changed it to update post as well. Apart from that, everything is fine. So here, if I click on this, I'll have to click on, say, update blog. So this is the method that I'll write right now, and submit button is okay. Database fine. So I'll create another method here that is update blog, and for that I'll have to pass the ID. So I hope it is a part of that this div itself. So I should be able to provide the ID too. It is post.id or blog.id. It is
post.id.
Post.id. I'll write update blog function. Okay. So here, what would I do is I'll again make a fetch call. It should get the ID. I would copy this. I'll paste it here. This is not going to be delete blog. Instead, it is going to be, say, update blog. I'm providing the ID as well, but it is supposed to be a post request. Okay, so I'll have to use something of this sort. I'll do it. Fine. So it is going to be update blog. The method is going to be post. Of course, the data is going to be something. Okay, yeah, we can use the same variables because ultimately it is showing the same thing. Right? Where is the? Okay, so we are using title and post. That is fine. So yeah, data can be the same. Headers. Okay, then console.log. And then we are going to get all these posts, and then we'll update it too. So I have to implement another endpoint called update blog. So it could be something similar to what we have here. Update blog. We come here. We want to. Okay, this is also going to get an ID. We are going to get an ID here. Then we'll say blog.query.get ID. Now with that ID, we have that blog. So what we would do is we would say blog.title equals to data.get title, and then we are going to say blog.description equals to data.get description. After that, we'll commit it and we'll say post successfully updated. Fine. Let us see if this works. I'll refresh this. I'll update the post for this. I'll change it to say post n and description n. Submit. Something happened. It did send this update blog. Okay. Sorry. So it was supposed to be a variable like this. I hope I'm sending the correct. Okay, this is also a problem. So this is supposed to be a ID here. Okay, update block ID. And we also have this ID here. Description n. If I click on submit, so you can see that it has now changed it here, but has it done something else? Go there. Submit. Let me check. I'll try once again. I'll say post, or instead I would say updated post. Here I would say updated post description. All right, yeah, I guess it is working. It has also sent a request in the backend too, that is update blog, and it has also sent a request called get all post. All right, so yeah, that seems to be working as well. So we have applied all the 4 operations: create, read, update, and delete. Of course, these formatting, I hope you can work them out. You can change these formattings as per your convenience. So that is okay. Apart from that, I have shown you how you can send this JSON data. If you want, you can even create a form data object and you can send all the details via a form object too. Probably I can show you in some of the demonstrations later. So since we have one more session coming up on the coming Thursday, probably I'll just take it from here itself, and I'll try to replace this JSON content with the form data, and I'll also try to show you how you can download files, or if we get time, I'll also integrate the Celery instance here in this application itself, so that you get to know how you can integrate Celery, how you can trigger the tasks asynchronously or even in the background.
Sir, one more thing that files or data type of images, how it can be done.
Yeah, so as I was saying that this is the this is the place where you would be preferring sending data via form or as form data instead of sending it via JSON. So okay, I already have it open here, so I should be having the form data somewhere here. Let's see, form data. I'll be able to show you in some of the live sessions. Okay, so here it is, I guess. Yeah. So you can see if you want to upload a file, then you can create a form object like this, and you can append whatever files you want to upload. Right? And then you can initiate the fetch request as we were even doing here. The backend is going to be quite simple. The backend is going to be the same as you would do in any other Flask application. You would use request dot. So since this is coming as form data, so you would say what it is, I guess, request dot form, and then you are going to get the file. Okay, in case of file, you will have to write request dot files, if I'm not wrong. So currently I'm using request dot get JSON. Yeah. In case of form data, you are going to use as for form, you will have to use something like request.form, right? And then you will have to provide the parameter here. Or in case of files, you will have to use request.files. And then you will have to provide the name parameter of the input tag here. Suppose it was file, so I'll just name it as file. So currently we are running out of time. So if we get some time extra in the next session, I'll probably try to show that too.
Thank you, sir. Sir, could you share this link also, sir? That YouTube link.
I would prefer sharing this application link once we complete it, as I am yet to integrate Selvi here. So I would prefer sharing it afterwards. Or if you want, I can even share it right now. I have no problem, of course.
Yes, sir. Please share.
Sir, I have one question. Sir, in MAD1 project, I used some cases where I used WT forms. So can we keep that in MAD2 project also? Because already I implemented few of the validations into that Python only, means WT forms classes. So can
see, WT forms will come from the backend. I guess it would be a problem.
Okay. So can we use that, or we need to do everything in the view and this JSON and everything?
Yeah, you will have to write your front end again using the HTML.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, can you share the recording of this meet?
Yeah, sure. I'll also share the recording.
Sir, also I have one doubt regarding the schedule job. Sir, actually I'm not getting that logic or how to take the like how to mail the user if he's visited in 24 hours or not. Like how can we do it?
I'm not sure. I guess someone had already raised it on the Discourse before, and that guy itself provided the solution to that. You can have a timestamp attribute in the user model that is going to keep track of when the user last logged into the app. And based on that timestamp, you can check whether the user has visited the application in the past 24 hours or not.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Sir?
Yeah.
So we have to, so can I, so we have to use all HTML and CSS from the MAD1 project just, and also the app.py and API, but only have to change the front end implementation with the help of Vue.js.
See, if you think you have not shared your app dev 1 project with anyone before, then you can of course go ahead But in case you think that you have shared your project or put it on some public repository and you think that it might have been exposed to some other people too, then I would not suggest you reusing any component from your app development project, because
No,
there
sir,
is a
I have
high
not
risk that you
shared.
can.
I have not shared it with anyone.
Okay, if you are sure, then of course you can reuse those components. But if you even have 2% or 3% doubt that it might have been exposed to someone else, then I would suggest not to reuse it. Because if you get caught in the plagiarism check, there is no way going back.
And sir, in Vue.js, we use fetch to send data from the front end to back end.
You can use fetch in order to send the data, in order to get the data. Fetch is just like an API in order to communicate with your backend.
But in Madvan project, we use Jinja, in which we redirected to the backend endpoint.
You read it. Yes, of course. This is what I'm doing here, right? I'm providing a reference to a backend endpoint that I want to get. Now it's up to me. If I'm using, say, post endpoint, then my intention is to, post some data to the backend. But let's say if I'm making a GET request, then my intention is to get some data from the backend.
And sir, one last question. Someone before me has told that we have to send email to the user about the activity or around about his post in 24 hours. So if we have to show demo in the Viva during Viva, so so how can we do that email thing, because it will update out of after 24 hours?
Of course, I can ask you to change the timestamp in your database for any given user.
So after let's say 1 minute, it will send email.
So no, I did not get it. So let's say even if the user you are trying to demo your app with has logged into your application, let's say in the last 24 hours, what would I ask you is just log out of the application and then you simply change the timestamp from something recent to something past. Right? That the timestamp should be older than the 24 hours, the last 24 hours. Now your timestamp has been updated. Now whenever your background job will get triggered, it should be able to read that the timestamp for this particular user is not within the past 24 hours. So it should be able to trigger the email job for that particular user.
So what kind of backend thing we have to implement? We can keep track of the last login by database, one extra column, but how can we track that current time is after there is a difference of 24 hours between current time?
Whenever the user logs out, you have to update the timestamp in the user model. What is the next question? That how do you find out the difference? So of course you can write some Python code in order to find out the difference between two timestamps.
So
I don't know in what format you are storing the timestamp for the user. So you can write some customized Python code based on the format that you are using.
So code has to run for 24 hours. How it is possible to run? Means that
I'm not getting it. I'm not getting it.
Sir,
like cron job.
May I repeat the question?
Yeah, yes, please.
Yeah, actually, the person what person wants is he want to know how the program will know that 24 hours have been passed. If he will write some other code for that, how does he have to make the code running for 24 hours to see that? That's what he's asking.
Yeah, that's where your cron tab will come into the picture now. The cron tab is going to be triggered as whenever you configure. So let's say you have configured your cron tab or a job to be triggered, say at 7 p.m. every day. So what it needs is it just needs your application to be running. Now during your demo, of course, your application would be running. So you can change the configuration at any point of time. You can say that I want this particular job to be triggered, say at 3 p.m. if your Viva is started at 2:30 p.m. so that you can show the Viva examiner that see this job has now been triggered at this timestamp, that is 3 p.m. And as soon as that job gets triggered, you can write your Python code which computes the difference between two timestamps and send the emails to those users who have not logged in the past 24 hours.
So, sir, cron tab will run a specific code after every 1 hour and check if there is any pending email which has to be sent by computing the difference.
See, cron tab is going to run based on the parameter that you provide to it. So there is another component that you will be using for it, that is salary beat. So you will have to tell the salary beat that just give me a minute, please.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, Bhavesh. So I was saying that the salary beat is going to take care how frequently the salary beat is going to look for the any pending job that is there in the system. So let's say if you provide the parameter to be 1 second, then it is going to check after every 1 second whether there is any job that has to be triggered. So whenever you configure a job, you have to configure a timestamp for that particular job using cron tab. So you specify what the number of hours should be, you specify what the number of minutes should be, number of seconds should be, what the day of week should be, what the month of year should be. Based on these parameters, the cron tab is going to decide whether the job has to be triggered or not.
So what is salary beat?
Have you watched screencast lectures till week probably 8 or 9? I don't know which week it comes in.
No, sir,
Yes,
because
it
I
comes in
have
week 9.
exams. I can't watch.
Okay, then I would suggest you to watch those screencast lectures. I guess
Week 9, sir. Week 9.
So where is recording link?
Hey, it is already there on your dashboard. It's the screencast. The weekly content.
On MAD to subject or MAD to project?
MAD to subject. It's a part of the theory course. The screencasts are parts of theory course.
Okay, sir.
Excuse me, sir.
May I please request everyone to please raise your hand so that we can go in an order? All right. Yes, Devansh.
Yeah, sir. Like, is there any possibility for the deadline extension for the September batch students just by a week?
What deadline do you expect would be feasible for you to submit?
Like, sir, at least by a week, it can be extended. So because like I am like halfway done for the project, but due to like I am in my final semester, final year of my college, so like it's getting me every day with like dealing with the assignments and projects. I'm getting a very low time for the doing this project and all. So like if that be feasible for like extending it by just a week.
Yes, many students have this issue for the September term.
It's the same thing. Like
It's
we
the
have
same
on
thing for
31st March. Can
Yeah,
we make it
same
9th
extension.
Okay. So all these raised hands are.
So if you can make it 9th for all, that will be very helpful.
Exactly, sir. At least 9th.
Okay, give me a few minutes. I'll think about it. I'll post something on the discourse.
All right, sir.
Okay, there is one thing that I wanted to check with all of you guys before you start leaving this call. So there is another session that is coming up on this Thursday, and another session is scheduled on Saturday. I guess one of you, or I guess it was Puneet, who raised the request that we should be having the quiz revision session at least 3 or 4 days prior to the actual quiz exam. So will it be okay for all of you to keep the quiz 2 revision session on Thursday, or should we prepone it to Wednesday? What do you think? What would work?
So
Yes, sir,
we
no
will
problem.
take the project session first because of the deadline.
Okay. Fine. For deadline, I'm currently not sure. But
actually, sir, in my case also, like I'm just left with this project only. I've completed both the diplomas in December, but due to the last semester workload, I haven't been able to give that much time. And like when I saw, so it's a very lengthy and a very like detailed project which we have to do. And the course content is good, but it's not that much project oriented. So we have to spend a lot of time like reading and going through the documentations and all. So it's taking a lot of time to cover all those stuff.
Okay, I would probably stop the recording right now. We are not discussing anything technical.
Sir, and this video link, sir, will it be available?